Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Beth with Create with Beth, and this is day 3 of my 5 days of Halloween series. If you haven't seen the first 2 videos, go check those out. And today we're going to be playing around with an old Lawn Fawn set. This is Happy Haunting. For some reason, I did not buy the matching dies when I purchased this, so I did have to do some fussy cutting on today's card, but that's okay. We'll go with it. So let me show you the bits and pieces we're going to be using and give you measurements. As always, everything will be on my blog at createwithbeth.blogspot.com. You can go check that out. So let me get this card folded. We have a card base of Gorgeous Grape, and it is cut at 8.5 by 5.5 and scored at 4 1/4. So we'll go ahead and crease our card with our bone folder. And then we have a piece of, let's see, which is which here. This is my inside piece. I have a piece of old olive that is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So we'll set that aside for the moment. And we're going to work on a basic white card base for our background. We're going to do some ink blending. And this is, did I write it down? I don't think I wrote it down. Let me get my measurements for you here. This looks like this is 4 7/8 by 3.5 maybe. I'll have the measurements on my blog for sure. So we're going to go ahead and do some ink blending. We're going to create a spooky sky. I'm going to use Gorgeous Grape ink from Stampin' Up. We'll start with that, and I'll get my ink blending tool out. And we're just going to hopefully not get ink on myself. And we're going to come in starting off of the paper to avoid blotches. And just ink a sky. We're going to go down. I'm trying to make it darker at the top and at the edges, and then fade down as we go. And it's okay if it's blotchy in places and uneven. The sky is not always even, as we know. These blending brushes are not the most expensive ones. I just got them at Temu, so they're not super spectacular, but they do the job. Okay, we're just going to continue to blend down towards the bottom. I want it to be darker at the top here. And fade as we get to the grass. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to bring in Misty Moonlight now. And we're going to darken up our sky a little bit, mainly at the top here. You could also come in here with a little bit of black if you wanted it to be even darker, but I think the Misty Moonlight does the trick that we need. And I think that looks pretty good. So we'll go ahead and put our Misty Moonlight and Gorgeous Grape away. And now we're going to bring in Old Olive. And we're going to create some grass. And again, we're going to be darker at the bottom and on the edges, and fade up into the sky. Now you could do this with oxide inks if you had them, distress inks. I don't have very many of those, and I didn't have any in these colors that I needed, so I was not able to do that, but the Stampin' Up! Works pretty good. And I think that looks pretty good and spooky. So we're going to go ahead and put our ink away. And I'm going to grab my rag over here because I really don't want to end up putting my hand in the ink, or don't want to put my inky hands into the card. So we'll set those aside. We're done with those. And with my brushes, excuse me, to clean them, I just kind of run them over my paper. And they will be all set to ink again. All right, we are going to get rid of this nasty looking paper before we continue. Oops. All right, we'll bring our bits back. And what we're going to work on now is I have little pieces that I stamped with Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and that was the haunted house image. And then I colored it with my Stampin' Blends, and I'll just give you the colors. So I went in first with dark smoky slate, and I did kind of an outline of all the images where the artist had put lines in under the eaves and under the windows. And then I went back in with light smoky slate and blended that all out. I then went in with dark pebbled path and did the whatever that is. Can't think of what the word is. The eaves and the roof and the rails on the porch. I then came in with cherry cobbler and I went over the chimney, and then I didn't like how really red that was. I wanted it to be a lot more muted, so I went over that with dark pebbled path. And finally, I went over the windows with, did I write it down? I did not write it down. I went over the windows with dark Daffodil Delight, the windows and the doors, and then I did fussy cut that out. Now, I don't know if you can see, there's a little bit here that I cut out of where the railing attaches to the porch. That was not, that shows up as white because it's not got, I don't have the dies. The dies would cut that out. So I had to go in with my X-Acto knife and cut that out because I'm going to be tucking a ghost in there. Then I cut out the two ghosts in the set, two of the ghosts, and went around with light smoky slate and the colorless blender. And then I went and stamped the tree, and this is colored with dark pebbled path and then blended with light pebbled path, and then I fussy cut that out. So I got those images all cut out. And we're going to go ahead and start assembling our card. Now, actually, first we're going to do some stamping for the inside of the card. And for that, we need to bring back our gorgeous grape. And I have one of the sentiments from the set, and it says, have a spooktacular Halloween. And what I did is I actually cut that stamp in half so that I could fit it on my card and mounted it on my block. It's okay to do stamp surgery when you need to. All right, we're going to stamp this right at the top of our card. And we have a little exclamation point that we're going to use. There we go. Oops, and I just lost my little stamp. Hopefully I can find it. It's ended up on the floor somewhere as I was cleaning it. Typical. Okay, so that's all we're going to need the Gorgeous Grape for. Let's go ahead and put this piece into the inside of our card. I had to turn my furnace on this morning. It was in the 40s when I woke up. I don't know where our warm weather went, but it's gone. Don't know if it's going to come back or not. All right, there is the inside done. And now we're going to take this piece, and I'm going to do some embossing on this before I adhere it and put it all together. So I have my anti-static powder tool, and we're going to put the sentiment over here in the upper right corner. So we'll get rid of any static that might show up with this tool. And I have my Versamark ink. And we need to get the stamp out. We're going to use Happy Haunting. All right. We're going to go right about here. And I was going to add an exclamation point, but it's somewhere on my floor, so I'm not able to do that. Now I need to go off camera in a minute. Let me add my embossing powder first. We're not going to get very far if we don't add the embossing powder. All right. And I just dumped a bunch of it on my table. Me and embossing powder do not mix. All right, and I need to, I should have had a, what do you call it? Paintbrush over here to get some of these extra bits off, and I don't have one here. All right, so I made a mess, but we're going to go ahead and put this away. Okay, I have to go off camera for a minute to emboss this, but it will be just a second. Okay, here is our embossed piece. Paper did warp a little bit because of that ink blending, but we'll glue it down and we'll be good. Okay, I need to clean up my little mess here. Yet again, this is turning out to be a very messy card. If someone can teach me how to not make a mess with this embossing powder, that would be great. Because every time I use it, it's catastrophe. Okay, let's go ahead and start assembling our card. So we're going to start by gluing this piece to our green mat. And I just love how the old olive in the grass blends with the old olive on the mat. These are traditional Halloween colors. We're going traditional today rather than what we've done the last 2 days, which was to make more feminine cards. Okay, I don't think we need this. Let's go ahead and glue this to the card base. Love these colors together. Purple is my favorite color. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of stamp die cut surgery. We're going to add our little ghost so that he is kind of coming out from the haunted house. So we'll just add a little bit of liquid glue like that. And then we're going to use some dimensionals and pop our house up. We'll put a piece right over where that ghost is to help hold it in place. And we're going to have to cut a little bit for the chimney. So I hope you're all having a fantastic day so far. I had to take my oldest daughter to get blood work this morning. And we were in a rush because we wanted to get McDonald's for breakfast. So we were like fighting against the clock, trying to get that done in time before the cutoff. But we made it. You know, I am stuffed to the gills. I won't need any lunch, that's for sure. Okay, we need to add one more dimensional to the back of our ghost. Now we're going to put this right about, I think right there. And then we have our large ghost, and he's going to just be floating up behind the house. Let's see, we might have to tuck him down in. You want to hold that glue down a little bit longer because the inked surface isn't going to want to grab because the ink is still kind of wet. And finally, we're going to add our little tree. There we go. So cute. I love it. Okay, we need to add a little bit of bling before it's finished, and I'm bringing in the Pink Fresh Studios Amethyst Glitter Drops. So we have a little bit more purple going on. Let's see where we're going to put these. We're going to do 5, I believe. And let's see, we'll start with a medium. Oh, I need to grab it the right way. One there, and let's do a teeny tiny one. And then we'll use a big one. It's like performing surgery over here. And I looked online. I'm not sure whether these drops are still available or not. I I got them ages ago, but even if this brink kind is not available, they have a ton excuse me, on their site, and you should be able to find an equivalent. There we go, guys. There is our card. Happy haunting. I love how it turned out. I hope you enjoyed it. Please consider leaving me a like and subscribing if you're not already subscribed. And come back tomorrow for day 4 to see what we have to offer. All right, thanks everyone. Bye.